Why would you do it? After being publicly shamed for something you did in your personal life, leading to you to be bowing out of politics, you decide to throw your hat back in the ring and re-enter public life. All of the candidates that are standing for the 2017 general election here in Queensland have now been given their position on the ballot paper. It's publicly available for your electorate on the Electoral Commission's website. And this morning, the electorate of Redlands sees the return of Peter Dowling. Now, Peter Dowling was elected as an LNP Member of Parliament for the seat in 2009. He was then re-elected in 2012. But an incident in his private life in 2013 proved to be his demise within the LNP. After details of an extramarital affair were very, very publicly splashed on the papers here and around the world, Peter Dowling wasn't pre-selected as the LNP candidate for Redlands in 2014. Now, during a pre-selection for the seat in the lead-up to the 2015 election, Peter was unsuccessful. Now, Peter Dowling has announced he will be recontesting the seat of Redlands, running as an independent candidate. Peter Dowling, good morning to you. Why would you do it?
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. But
it's an absolute delight to talk to you. And why am I doing it? I still live in this community. I've had an awful lot invested in the community. It's something I have a heart for and a passion for down here in the Redlands, whether it's the Bay Islands or the mainland. And in the last 3 years, I've just felt that, the community is almost regressed. There's been very little activity on infrastructure front. The community, you talk about your traffic reports, which I just heard while online, and every morning you could say Boundary Road, Cleveland Redland Bay Road, Beenleigh Redland Bay Road, all congested, all the roads out of our city because we've been left behind. And I think it's important that if you have an ability, and by any assessment, if you were to look at my track record and history of delivery at two levels of government over the 15 years I've served this community, you'd say, wow, that's an amazing feat. And I'm ready to do it again.
Given all that you've been through, the parading of your private life difficulties so publicly in the papers here in Queensland and around the world, you're still coming back for another go.
I'm coming go because I have an ability, and there are roadworks that need doing, there are infrastructure projects that need to happen, and my community, I feel, has been let down by the major parties, and that's why I've decided you can sit back and you can wonder what if or maybe or...
Well, by implication, that must be the major party that you were once a member of, the LNP.
Absolutely correct, I was. And it's less to do with probably the parties and more to do with the individuals, because politics is one of those unusual environments, probably a bit like media. It's a team game, but it's played by individuals. While ABC is a strong brand, you're an integral part of that, but you have to run your own race. In politics, as a member, I'm representing a community that, in this case, is Redlands, and it's my job to represent them while wearing the badge or brand of whomever I might be endorsed for.
Now, let me go back to, at the time of your personal difficulties, the photos that were printed in the newspaper, the nickname that you were branded with by the Courier Mail, made not only national headlines but international news as well. And you think you can overcome that embarrassment and represent the electorate of Redlands?
I think when people look at the level of achievement and see what we've missed out on, and the fact that as I walk through the community, because as I said from the outset, I still live here. I sit in the traffic jams every morning going to work. I'm seeing the lack of infrastructure. People are coming up to me in the shops. They're coming up to me at sporting grounds, and they're saying, Pete, Jesus, come back, mate. Come back. We need someone to stand up for us. And with all of that, and at the end of the day, Steve, those brandings, those tags, those names, I'll take them to the grave. But you know what? I'd sooner die trying than die wondering, and I still have a heart for it. I still have a passion and an ability, and I'm ready. I'm ready, and if, I come up short, so be it. I will have tried.
Peter Dowling, formerly of the LNP a number of years ago, is now standing as an independent candidate for the electorate of the Redlands. This is ABC Radio Brisbane. What are your feelings towards the journalists who first decided to run the story, the photographs on the front page of the paper, knowing the implications it would have for you, your other family members?
Look, I I suppose you think about those things in passing, and if you do dwell on it too much, you'll end up bitter and twisted. I'd sooner focus on the next chapter of my life, which is, again, seeking community representation. And one of the greatest forms of revenge, I suppose, is success. And I'm prepared to step up. I'm prepared to be successful for my community and to win this campaign. And I'll just have a quiet grin to myself.
But no, I ask this because normally, see, in the UK, in British papers, extramarital affairs of politicians is fair game. But here in Australia, traditionally, we've not done it. We've regarded a person's private life as their private business and their public life as their public business. But your partner in the affair had a falling out of a relationship with you and decided to use the benefits of raising something in a parliamentary arena, which saw them paraded without fear of any legal action in the papers. And you don't feel any resentment towards the journalists that did that at the time?
Look, I suppose it's not something I really want to dwell on. I mean, really, when the media resorts to what could best be described as revenge porn, and that's really all it is. It's revenge porn. In any other medium, it wouldn't. It would be judged and thrown in the bin where garbage belongs. And when our principal media sort of run that sort of story, it's revenge porn by any measure. I'll just keep chipping away down here in Redlands. I'm very effective as a member, as a councillor and an MP, and I'm ready to step into the fray. And often you find that you can be more effective from opposition. Unless you're one of the key ministers in a government, as an opposition member of Parliament, you can be outspoken, you can voice the concerns of your community, you can lobby, you can agitate, and you can really put the wood on the minister and on the government. And that's where you can be so effective. Under Anna Bligh as Premier, me in opposition, a first-term backbencher, I was able to achieve a fire station, multiple intersection upgrades, and the list goes on of good stories for Redlands, good deliverables for Redlands.
All right,
For example, I was able to roll out TransLink to the Southern Bay Islands.
Voters usually don't care about the past, they care about the present. But let me just ask, so you see yourself as a victim of revenge porn politically?
How else would you describe it, Steve?
Well, I'd rather not think about it personally.
Well, neither would I. I'd like to move on and talk to the positives of what's lacking. Road infrastructure needs delivering in Redlands, and it's not happening. I'll get to that in just a moment. Into our community, which again is not being delivered.
When was the last time you spoke to Campbell Newman? That he was Premier at the time, leader of the LNP. You're in party at the power at the time. You're in the party at the time. Did you feel you were given enough support by Mr. Newman and the LNP at that time?
Absolutely. The elected members were supportive.
And Campbell Newman?
Absolutely.
And nevertheless, you had to leave.
The state executive mounted a crusade to get me out. They came en masse to the pre-selection process. You might recall I went through a three-stage thing. I got past my branch, I got past the panel, I got past state council, and then the then president overturned the decision. But that's history. That's all gone. I'm very happy to be an independent candidate. I'm very happy to put my name on the ballot paper. I've got a great position in position 2 on that paper. I've got a community that I think is looking for someone to represent them, not to represent a party. And, of course, the added benefit from my point of view, or with me as a selected candidate, is being independent. I can be outspoken whomever wins government, and that you look at my history of achievement, and I would measure my successes at 2 levels of government, and this sounds very arrogant, but I'd sort of compare any electorate across the country and find somewhere that's developed and thrived and grown as well and as good as this community has. It's a beautiful community. It's been left behind now for a couple of years, and it's time to arrest that rot and get back on the front foot, and that's what I'm prepared to do.
Peter Dowling is standing as an independent candidate for the electorate of Redlands in southeast Queensland here. This is ABC Radio Brisbane. Steve Austin's my name. Well, you worked closely with Tim Nicholls. He's now the leader, the opposition leader, and running for the position of Premier. What sort of person is Tim Nicholls, the opposition leader, Peter Dowling?
Look, I enjoyed my time with the LNP. I worked with them all. They're There's a lot of good operators, and if Tim's the Premier, I'll sit down with him as the independent member for Redlands, and I would expect that he would respect.
No, I'm not asking about whether you'd support him. What sort of person is he? I mean, he is the Labor Party is pointing the finger that he is essentially the cause of many of the problems of Campbell Newman's government. Is that a fair accusation to make?
Oh, that's for others to judge. I had a lot of success for Redlands as an MP, as an LNP MP, both in opposition and in government. I was able to serve my community well and get the deliverables. So that's really all that counts. If Tim's the Premier in sort of 15 days or so, then good luck to him. And if it's Anastasia, good luck to her. I'll be knocking on their door if I'm successful as the independent candidate, looking for investment in Redlands, looking for an arrest to all the neglect, and looking forward to a very positive, proactive future for Redlands and, the broader Redlands city. I'll be working with whomever is the representatives down this way.
Well, then how do you feel about the endorsed LNP candidate for the electorate of Redlands, Matt Meechan?
Matt McKagan?
McKeon, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, he's a nice enough fellow. He was a bit of a last man standing, and he's served the community for the last 3 years. I'm not pleased with what's been delivered. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing up. If everything was going tickety-boo, I would not be putting myself on the ballot paper. I believe there's an opportunity there to better represent this community, and that's why I'm putting myself up.
Now, you're, I think, standing out on street corners and giving away information. What's the feedback you're getting from voters on the ground?
Very positive. I've been surprised. I've been in the shops quite a bit, walking through and going to various community events, and the response has been very, very strong. All age groups, both genders, and I'm quietly optimistic. And of course, with preferential voting this time, that could be a very interesting dynamic, and we have a One Nation candidate, again, another very interesting dynamic. And, without...
That's Jason Quick?
Yes. Without all the, too much fanfare, we're all getting on with our jobs, we're all out doing our campaigning, and, it's one of those things that I really feel I have an appetite for and an ability in delivering, and the community will decide, and at the end of the day, if they say, no thanks, Peter, that'll be fine. I'll move on with the next chapter of my life. But if they say, look, Pete, you did a great job, we can overlook all the other nonsense, and we'll give you another chance, and that will be fabulous.
Are you married these days?
No.
Peter, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Steve. Have a great day.
Peter Dowling, the independent candidate for Redlands. Also in Redlands, and now all of the candidates, by the way, are up on the Electoral Commission of Queensland's website now. So for that, and I'll give you in the order of the ballot paper for the electorate of the Redlands. Number 1, for the Greens, David Keogh. In position number 2, the independent I just spoke to, Peter Dowling. Number 3, for the Australian Labor Party, Kim Richards. Number 4 on the ballot paper for Pauline Hanson's One Nation, Jason Quick. And number 5 at the bottom of the ballot paper for the electorate of the Redlands is the LNP's Matt McKeon.